All right, so this is the last lesson on solving equations. And so if you look at this equation here, it's kind of a mix of things we saw in previous lessons. We have variables on both sides of the equation, but I also have all these denominators. Lots of choices. The first thing I would do is just get rid of the denominators. And I can cancel out all these denominators if I multiply everything by the lowest common denominator. And the lowest common denominator of 3 and 5 is 15. So I'm going to multiply everything by 15. So right here, I have 15 times a over 3. Well, 15 over 3 reduces to 5 over 1, so I just have 5a. Next, minus. Right here, I have 2 times 15 over 5. Well, 15 over 5 reduces to 3 over 1. So I really just have 2 times 3, so minus 6. On the right-hand side of the equation, I have 15 over 5, which reduces to 3 over 1. So I really just have a times 3, which is 3a. And not surprisingly, I have no fractions left. That'll always happen. If you really do multiply any equation by the lowest common denominator, you should have no fractions left. And now I have a's on both sides of the equation, but we've seen this sort of stuff before. I can deal with this right now. I'm going to subtract 3a from both sides. I've got to be a little bit careful. On the left-hand side, 5a minus 3a is 2a. Take away 6. On the right-hand side, 3a minus 3a is 0. So I need to show that 0 because there's nothing else left. Now let's add 6 to both sides. So I have 2a equals 6. I can see the answer is going to be 3, but I'll just divide both sides by 2. So a equals 3. So whenever we have something like this where the entire left-hand side canceled out, there's that bell, just keep in mind when there's nothing else left, we have to make sure we put that 0 there. If we don't, this equation doesn't make sense anymore. If we just had like this, well, this doesn't equal anything anymore. And that's where a lot of mistakes can tend to rise. But 0 is a really important number, and it's the answer in this particular equation. All right, so let's look at this next one. I have a fair number of choices, but I think right away I'll do the same thing as before. I have 2 different denominators. The lowest common denominator of 2 and 3 is 6. I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. And so if I look at the left-hand side, 6 over 2, I'm going to reduce to 3 over 1. So really, I just have 3 times 2b minus 1, and I'll write it like that. 3 times 2b minus 1. And on the right-hand side, I'll reduce 6 over 3 to 2 over 1. So really, I have this, 2b plus 1 times 2, or I'm going to write it as 2 times 2b plus 1. OK, it was pretty messy, but now I have no more fractions left. So now I can just focus on this. I'm going to distribute the 3 over here. So I have 6b minus 3. Distribute the 2 over here. So I have 4b plus 2. I have variables of b on both sides. I can now take care of it quite nicely. I have a 6b and a 4b. I always recommend canceling with the smaller. In this case, the 4b is smaller, so I'm going to subtract 4b from both sides. So I have 2b minus 3 on the left-hand side and just 2 on the right-hand side. I now am going to add 3 to both sides. Notice each step it gets simpler and simpler looking. 2b equals 5. And so finally, I can see my answer is not going to be a whole number because 5 is not a multiple of 2. So b is going to equal 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5 if I decimalize it. And like I've been saying, we're progressing quite a lot from the first few lessons on solving equations. Although it's always the same idea we're coming back to. Kind of with being very careful, step by step, showing our work vertically. And here's the last example. For this one, I have lots of things I could do. I'm going to distribute right away instead of multiplying by the lowest common denominator. If I do that, negative 2 over 5 times c is negative 2 over 5c. 2 over 5 times 3 is 6 over 5, so negative 6 over 5. On the other side, 1/2 times 3c, 1/2 times 3 is 3 over 2, so 1/2 times 3c is 3 over 2c. And then I have 1/2 times negative 1, which is negative 1/2. So if I choose to distribute those right away, I have a whole bunch of fractions, but now I can get rid of all those fractions because the lowest common denominator of 5 and 2 is 10. So I'm going to multiply everything by 10. Looks a bit messy here, but it's going to simplify quite nicely. If I look right here, I'm just going to go 10 over 5, simplifies to 2 over 1. So really, what do I have? I have 2 times negative 2 times c. That is negative 4c. Okay, next. 10 over 5 reduced to 2 over 1. So what I've left right here, I have minus 6 times 2, which is minus 12. Okay, halfway done. Over here, reduce 10 over 2 is 5 over 1. So what do I have? I have 3 times 5 times c, which is 15c. Lastly, I have a half times 10, which is 5. And so I just have minus 5. All right, that's a big step done. And now I have variables on both sides. I'll take care of this now. I have a negative 4 and a 15c. Negative 4 is smaller, so I'm going to add 4c to both sides. Because again, I was thinking opposites or inverses. That cancels out. I have negative 12 equals 19c minus 5. I'm trying to isolate c. I'm getting closer. I don't want that minus 5 over there, so I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So I have negative 7 equals 19c. And so c is going to equal whatever negative 7 divided by 19 is, which is not going to be the most pleasant number, but I know it's going to be negative. And I'll round this one to well, first I'll leave it as a fraction, negative 17 over 9. That's great. So that's the exact answer, actually. If I decimalize it, I get approximately 0.37. So that's the exact answer as a fraction, and this is the decimal approximation. And so, not surprisingly, the very last question in the last lesson on this chapter of solving equations has become much more involved than the first few lessons were. And again, none of this, there's no point even trying to practice this until we've slowly built our proficiency towards this lesson. But yeah, big change from if I go back to the first lesson on solving equations, which was right here. Big change from this, 2a minus 3 equals 1.